Hello Flosstube friends, and welcome to another Stitch with me. I am Lisa and this is my channel Cross by Floss, where I talk about life blabbings, cross stitching and stuff. So today is, like I mentioned, a Stitch with me video. I don't even know what number it is, but it is Sunday the 16th. Is it the 16th already? Oh my goodness, May is just flying by, But anyways, I haven't done a Stitch with me video for a few weeks, so I thought I would pop on today and get one done. So, and excuse the mess around me. I am in the middle of, yesterday I posted to Instagram, I am finally painting that desk I bought and at Valley Village, and I have it strewn all over this room, and so I had to pick up some piles and put them. Eventually, I've got to organize this room. I mean, once all the furniture is painted and put in here properly, and I can actually get the stuff that is needed, but you know, that whole work balance, life balance thing, unfortunately, I need the work in order to pay for the things that I do, and then, you know, the little, she requires some time, so I don't get as much me time as I thought I would when I lived on my own. Like, how weird is that? Anyways, okay, Stitch with me, that's what we're doing. So today I am doing a red sampler, and this is the red sampler I am going to do. It is called Mary Agenon 1888. And it is this beautiful red sampler. I purchased this off of Etsy from Roland Designs. And it was not a lot of money. It is a small little sampler. It's like 150 by 140. And long ago when this little girl did it, Marie, she did it on a canvas called Penelope. I've never heard of that, which apparently is also called a double canvas with a red cotton thread. And so I thought that what I would do is I'm going to do mine on a 20 count. I am going to do this 1/1, so it will be small, and I intentionally wanted it small. But I am also going to use Sulky thread. So for those of you who don't know what Sulky thread is, it is a lovely cotton in a 12 weight, and you can purchase it. Some local needlework shops are carrying Sulky thread. I purchased mine off of the Sulky website, and if I can remember, I'll link that below. But I am using the color 1147, and I think they call this Christmas red. I could be wrong though, but all of them have names. They don't put the name on the thread though, so it's just the number. So if you're looking, it's 1147, and it is a really nice, very vibrant red. And so I thought for this red sampler on this fabric is going to look so good. This is done on a 20 count Aida that I coffee dyed myself with a touch of RIT dye. So this is what I did. I just made a bunch of very strong coffee in my Keurig. Did you know that there is a setting in your Keurig that you can make your coffee light, medium, or dark, or light, medium, strong, whatever the thing is? There's an actual little setting in there. I knew about that. My daughter didn't. So one day when she found it, she was like, "Mom, did you know?" And I'm like, "Actually, I did." But so now I'm telling you just in case maybe you didn't know. But I do mine on strong. So I probably put in, you know, 4 pods and made super strong coffee, poured that into a mason jar, shoved this in there, and pretty much left it overnight. Then the next day, I rinsed it out, and then I let it dry. And I looked at it and I was like, yeah, you're pretty nice, but I wanted to try something. So then I took it and I put it in a touch of caramel. And when I mean a touch, like it was almost, I can't even describe the color. It was very, 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 very light. So I put that in there. My issue is that I use the granules, not the liquid. And so when I use the granule powder RIT dye, I guess I didn't stir it enough. And so some of the crystals didn't dissolve well enough. And so when I took it out, I didn't notice this, but it has some red spots in it, reddy pink spots. I'm hoping that either my thread is going to cover that up. Most of it is in the border, and so I'm not worried, like the edging, and so I'm not worried. I think it'll be fine. But so note to self, when I do I typically use liquid, so I don't normally have a problem. But I didn't have the liquid caramel, and so, or tan. Maybe it was tan, or maybe caramel. I don't remember. I'll look, and if I can remember, I'll link that below too. Because I don't have that many powders. I have a lot more liquid. But note to self, if you're using powder, make sure that you stir really, 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 really well, and more than you think you should, so that you don't get the weird blotches of color where it hasn't dissolved. So one of the reasons why I chose this sampler was because, well, it's a red sampler and I haven't done one yet, though I do have several in my stash of things, and most of them I bought off of either Etsy, or I have a couple from like Whilst Iris Naps. I think I have a red sampler from Hands Across the Sea. I've got quite a few red samplers. But the reason why I'm choosing this one is because her name is Marie. And my grandma's sister was named Marie. And she died very early, before she was 20, of leukemia. And so when my mom was born, her middle name, my grandma, honored her sister, and my mom's middle name was Marie. When I was born, my mom carried on that tradition. When my daughter was born, I carried on that tradition. And then with my grandbaby, we carried on that tradition. So there are 4 generations of us with the middle name Marie. And so when I saw this, I was like, it's almost like it's meant to be. And we should just do that as a sampler. So that's what I'm going to do. With Sulky thread, you use 1 strand. The great thing about Sulky thread is that it is, they kind of advertise it-ish as it is equivalent to 2 strands of DMC. And so I thought, well, that's going to be a good test on this 20 count to see what it's like. And because I am using 1 strand instead of the loop method, which is my preferred method of using DMC or overdyed floss, and I don't know how to do the pin stitch, I am going to catch my thread in the back with the additional threads. So, and that's how I started. That's actually how I learned how to cross stitch, was by catching the threads in the back. I didn't even know how to do the loop method. I didn't even know what it was back when I first started cross stitching in the late 80s, early 90s. And so I always used 2 strands of floss, and always caught my threads in the back. So that's what I'm going to do with this, because again, I don't know how to do the pin stitch. I guess I'm going to have to learn that at some point. But let me get all this organized and we will get started. Okay, so as you can see, I have a needle in here, and it is marking my 3-inch spot. And so what I'm going to do is, the top of the needle is the 3-inch spot. And so I am going to go over to where my needle, oh, wrong space, this one here. Okay, this 20 count is going to be really fun to see. So I'm just going to plop it in the back, leave a good enough tail because, and I don't mind, I will leave a real long tail if needed. And then I will plop up my second. Yeah, I will use, keep a really nice long tail, and I will flip back and forth until I know that my thread has been caught and I'm satisfied with how long that thread has been caught for. But easy peasy. I mean, that's truly, that is how I used to stitch way back when. So I think that this is going to look really, really pretty. Let's see here. My fabric's not in here tight as it could be. I definitely am going to need to buy some, or get some grippy or some fabric to put in and keep these nice and taut. But I love this stand so much. You know, I use it for all of my stitch with me's, or for the majority of my stitch with me's, because it's such a great stand to use. When I'm filming these videos, this piece, if I'm going to do it later, I will stitch in hand because it'll be a lot easier. Okay, so this is all I do. I just, you know, catch it in the back and I weave it in and out of every stitch that I do until I am happy and know that it is completely caught. I probably overdo it because I want to make sure that my stitches are not going to come apart doing this. Oh my goodness. And then I'm going to try and put a hair in there as well. So yeah, so I'm sorry, this is going to be a little painful in the beginning here until I get these all caught in here, and I am so super happy with how I do find that the beginning of this, yes, is a lot longer process, but then once you get going, it's totally fine. And then when I'm happy, you know, and I have threaded this, when I'm done with this length, and I thread it back and forth to catch the end, I will cut both threads to where I'm happy. And that's what I do until I learn how to do the pin stitch. So I apparently am going to need to watch Jean Farish. I think she's got a pin stitch video, or how to pin stitch. And I might take some fabric that I have, some spare fabric, and learn how to do that. I also have a couple of patterns that I need to learn. Oh my goodness, why am I having so many problems? See, I only do this when I'm on camera. Any other time, I've got this so fast. I have no problem. I don't know what's happening. You know, 5 hours later, 3 stitches done. We're good. We're good. Oh, this is going to be so pretty. Yeah, I think I'm going to be happy with this. Okay. So let me just catch a couple more in the back here, and then we'll have a little chit chat. So, oh, like I was kind of explaining, oh, Jean Farish. Okay, Jean Farish. She has a couple of videos. She's got a lot of great tutorial videos, and not only about the pin stitch, but also like how to make lazy daisies. Is that what they're called? And some other stitches. And I've got a couple of patterns, and I'm struggling because I don't know how to do those. And I'm at that point that I need to make those stitches. And so if you are looking for some good tutorial videos, Jean Farish has some great ones. Okay, just a couple more, guys, and then then I promise I'll stop being, whew, this was a slow process. Oh, goodness sakes. These little holes are very tiny. I should have probably also found my magnifiers, but I thought my light was going to be enough. So let's see here. Wrong one. Okay. And I did not catch, so let me just... Okay, I think I'm satisfied. I've got 5 full crosses with this all entangled in there, and it may even catch some other ones later down the line, as long as they don't show on the back that it looks traveled. I'm good with it. I'm good with it. Okay. All right. 5 stitches. And you all wonder why it takes me so long. This is why. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right. Okay, so I have mentioned in prior videos that I really like this stand, and so much so that I went and bought another one. I bought the bigger size. So this one is the 8.5 by 11 and 11 by 11 size, I think. This is the 8.5 by 11 size. This one here is the 11 by 11. And then I bought the bigger size up, which is 11 by 14 and 14 by 14, I believe. Anyways, they were both the same price, which that irks me. But regardless, I purchased the bigger one so that I could do a couple of the other samplers on the other ones and keep 2 going at once. I had to take my Whipco piece off in order to put this one on, but if I have 2, I can, you know, keep a rotation going, sort of 2. And I really like this stand. And what I like about this stand is that it is portable. So it comes apart, and you can, you know, pack all the little pieces into a case and, or a project bag, and a cloth one. I don't know that I'd use a vinyl one, a vinyl front one, just because, you know, of the bulk, but I definitely would use a fabric one, like a Agenon toten bag. Definitely would put that in there. So it would be good for a retreat, or, you know, if you're going to a friend's house to stitch, or, oh goodness, hopefully soon, instead of Zoom meetings, we'll be able to meet in person again. That will be exciting. I'm looking forward to that day. Yeah. Okay, so what has happened since the last time I did a Stitch With Me video? Okay, so I already see a small problem. It's not a huge problem, but definitely because these threads, or this thread is a little thicker, putting it back through a hole that has already had some floss through it is a little harder. Now, again, maybe if I had my magnifiers, it would not be that much of a problem, but once that hole is being covered by 1, 2, yeah, 2, now the third going into the hole, yeah, 3 times, it's It's a little tight. Still doable, and I think it's going to look fine. Okay, so yes, what has happened in since the last video I did? Well, so my daughter had been bugging me for a while. Like we have car insurance. This is another car story. And for those of you who have maybe heard some of my car saga before, I swear that my car or something, I'm jinxed with insurance, car issues. Something, I'm just jinxed. So my daughter had said to me back in March time frame, she's like, hey, do you have the new, I'm gonna have to put my pattern over here. Do you have the new insurance cards, Mom? And I said, oh yeah, they're around here somewhere. And she goes, okay, well, if you could, I know for sure, I don't have the new one in the car yet. And sure as anything, you'll always get pulled over when you don't have everything you're supposed to. And I said, yeah, no problem, right? So I kind of made a half-hearted look for the insurance cards and didn't really find them, but then she didn't remind me again. So I was like, didn't really think about it. And then my son in Oregon, we had told him because he's been there for almost a year, you guys. Like, that's shocking to me. Yep, he's been there almost a year, which means that his lease is almost up. And so Mr. G and I said to him that, we will sign a new lease if he wants to stay there, but he needs to at least get a job, this sounds really bad. He is in the process of putting together a business, but it is, it's slow going. And the type of business that he is doing is fiber cable. I can't pretend to know anything about it. He calls me all the time and asks for my advice, and I just really listen and say, yeah, that sounds great, honey. But unfortunately, there's a lot of money involved in this, and he needs to get, city approval and like all kinds of stuff. And so the business has not happened yet, and the potential is there, but it might take another 6 months before it gets off the ground. And so we said to him, if you want to stay there, that is absolutely fine, and we will help, but you need to get a job. And so he did, and in order to have that job, he had to have proof of insurance. So he calls me and he is like, hey, can you send me a copy of my insurance? And I'm like, oh yeah, honey, no problem, and don't worry about it. You can use, your old, just tell them that it's the same policy number, blah, 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 right? So now I'm on like a big hunt to find the insurance cards. So I can't find them in a preliminary look, right? So I'm like, okay. So I then, let me just count here. I then go online because, we have policy online. So I go online, I type in all the information, and it says no policy exists. And I'm like, well, that's impossible. And so I'm like, well, I must have typed something in wrong. So I do it again. And sure as anything, no. And I'm like, okay, well, that's really weird. And so I'm like, forget password, forget, login ID, blah, blah, blah. And it says, can't find you. I'm like, well, that is just not right. Well, when he had asked me, it was on a Saturday, And by the time that I really actually looked and like got my stuff together, it was Sunday. Well, are they closed on Sunday? Yes, they are. So, I'm calling the customer service line and everything. And yes, no, they're closed on Sunday. So I'm like, okay, well, this is fantastic. And I'm slightly panicking, right? I am slightly panicking. So I pull every piece of mail in this house and I put it all on my bed and I put on a Netflix show and I go through absolutely every pile of mail because I am not good with my mail. Most of my bills are paid online. I very rarely, get anything except for junk mail, or they'll send me statements, but my bills are typically paid online. And so I don't look at my mail very often, but I had received a couple of pieces from them, one being a check and one being the house insurance, telling me that, my mortgage lender had got the house insurance. And so I was like, fantastic. There was nothing else from them, right? So in all the piles of mail. So I tell the kids, don't panic. I send out a group text and I'm like, don't worry. I'm calling first thing. They can't find our policy online. I'm calling first thing when they open 5 a.m. my time. So, I'll have it all settled. But in the meantime, don't drive anywhere. Don't drive anywhere because, now I'm like, okay, now none of us have insurance. And how can that be? And we've been without insurance since January. It is now April. And, sure as anything, that's the time that somebody's going to get into an accident, right? So I'm like, okay, don't drive anywhere. Don't do anything. Stay home. Call in sick, I don't care. Don't do anything. My daughter's like, Mama, I have a meeting on Monday morning that I absolutely have to go to. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm hoping that before you leave the house, we have insurance in hand because I'm calling them at 5 a.m. our time. And so I call and I'm like, hey, totally don't understand, but can't find a policy online, blah, blah, blah. So here's my old policy, or here's the policy that I have, yada, yada, yada. And she looks it up and she goes, oh yeah, we sent you a letter back in October explaining that, if my son's car, if there weren't certain things done with that we were not renewing your policy in January. And I said, well, I don't have that letter. And I said, and I've gone through absolutely every piece of mail, and I can tell you the only things that I have received from you guys is a check, a reimbursement check, and my house insurance information. And I said, and I thought that it was weird that I didn't get anything for my my car insurance, but I also assumed that I could get it online, so, wasn't really panicking. Now, what is the law? Yes, you're supposed to have your insurance card in your car, but if you have, followed me for any length of time, you know that I'm probably not the most organized person in the world, as a police officer pointed out to me. And, for the most part, I fly by the seat of my pants, and kind of my children do too, by osmosis, because unless mom gives them the stuff, they don't have it. I tell you what. And so I'm like, so yes, no, I have looked, and I said, I can for sure tell you that I have never received that. And I said, and if I had received that, I have been a very loyal customer of yours since, I don't know, 1990 something, early 1990. And I said, so I definitely would have called and said, hey, what's up? Because, and she goes, oh yes, no, I see you've been a very loyal customer of ours since, blah, blah, blah. It's been 30 years. Well, 22, I guess, maybe more. I don't know. It's been a while. Anyways. And she says, so yes, that is weird. And I said, and furthermore, like, you guys send me emails all the time, which I do read the emails mostly. And I said, so I was really surprised that I also didn't get an email saying, hey, your policy is lapsing, or whatever, because I get random emails from you guys all the time. And she goes, well, we don't typically send out emails like that. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And I said, so what do we need to do in order to solve this issue and get insurance back on for all of us? And she's like, okay, well, let me look into, blah, blah, blah. So she leaves me on hold for a while, and she comes back and she goes, okay, well, because you are a good customer and we noticed that there hasn't been any lapses in policy before, and, you pay your premiums on time, blah, blah, blah. We are going to basically do a non-lapse in coverage policy and renew you back from January. In order to do that, you will have to pay, the premiums for each month. And I said, okay, no problem, whatever. And it is almost to May, where the new premium is going to be charged anyway. So I ended up paying all 5 months for the 6-month policy in one go, which I'd said to her, which is really weird because I just assume, because again, I pay my bills online, and this is tied through a credit card, I assumed that I was being charged every month for my policy, and so didn't really look. I am that nightmare person. I really am. And so we got it all fixed. We got everybody insurance, but in the meantime, and I'm really nice. I'm now, if Mr. G had called up, even if he was at fault, which, clearly I was, I should have looked, though I did not get a letter. And I know for sure I did not get a letter. And she says, oh, well, we've also mailed you out 3 checks. And I said, well, I've only received 1 check. And she goes, oh, and she says, you haven't cashed any of them? And I'm like, no, I actually did not. I found it while I was going through my mail again, with you guys. And, but it's only 1 check. And she goes, okay, well, we'll reissue you those 3 checks. And I said, fantastic. And I said, can you just not apply that to my premium? And she goes, no, unfortunately, because it's a different division, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, no problem. We're all good. We're all good. Okay, is that 4 or 3? Oh, that was 3. Just hang on here. Let me fix this. So, long story short, we'd been running around, and then, she had said to me, on all the vehicles, no, there's been no traffic violations, no accidents, no anything. And I said, nope, thankfully, no, there has not. And she goes, yeah, that's pretty lucky, especially with, 4 people on your policy, everybody driving. And I said, I know. So, yep, we've been driving around since January with no insurance, unknowingly. And I'm actually kind of a freak, and here's the reason why. So we had a house fire 18 years ago, and you discover in things like that whether or not the policy that you carry is covers you for what you have. And lucky for us, we actually did have a fairly good policy, but it really made me then go and look a little harder at what our coverage actually was and if we had the right amount of coverage on things. Like, we had a lot of computers and TVs and things like that. And so the electronic part of our policy was probably not as, it didn't have the same value of maybe what we actually had as value in our house at the time, because my ex-husband is an IT guy, and he was always buying the latest greatest computers, and each one of the boys had a computer for gaming. And then we had like the family house computer. He had his work computers. Everybody had things. And then he also was very big into stereo equipment and TVs and that kind of thing. And so we always had, the neighborhood kids loved coming to our house because we had the big screen TV, we had the latest gaming consoles, we had everything pretty much in order to satisfy young teenage boys. And so potentially the value of those things may not have been what was on the policy. And so anyways, because of that, I really took a look at our policies, and I've been kind of vigilant about that ever since. And so for us to have a lapse in car coverage was really, that's very odd for me. So yeah, just another, I swear I am jinxed with the car things, but luckily it all worked out. And the best part is my policy went down because I have my oldest son who's on my policy is 30, and so he's no longer in that weird. My daughter's 27, so she's no longer in that weird, and we haven't had any claims or anything. And so our policy even went down. So that was that was a kind of a nice surprise as well. So, but yep. Just an FYI, when your policies expire every 6 months, probably look and make sure that you have the cards for them. Oy vey. Every time, you guys, every time. I do weird, naughty things. Not the most vigilant in paperwork. So yes, that means everybody is all happy now. My son got a job. He is doing really well. He thinks he wants to stay there. Until then, he called me the other day and said, hey, when is the lease on this house up? And I said, in June. And he goes, oh, okay. And I'm like, why? Are you thinking about, because the last time I had talked to him, I mean, he just had this job for not even a week and a half yet. And so the last time I had talked to him, he was, all gung-ho about keeping the house and releasing for another year. And he goes, oh yeah, no, I've been talking to this guy, and he potentially will be offering me a job in another state, and so blah blah blah. And I said, oh, I wasn't aware that you were. And he goes, yeah, it probably isn't going to happen, but I just want to make sure and see where everything is and yada yada. And he'd have to make a lot more money in order to move to this other state, because their cost of living there is higher than it is in Oregon. And so yeah, so I was a little surprised because but I said to him, what do you mean you've been moving away? You wouldn't have any family close to you. Like right now, we're a couple hours away. And he goes, yeah, that's kind of one of my factors. And I'm like, in which way, hun? He goes, definitely family. Like, yeah, of course. And he said, yeah, it would, it would definitely be a little lonely. And so we'll see. We'll see. Keep you updated. And then I think it's getting closer and closer to my daughter being engaged. And I guess the boy has told her her ring is on its way. It's going to his parents' house because, you know, it's insured and somebody has to sign for it. And then he's coming here to ask permission of the mommy. I'm gonna give him a hard time, you guys. Just a little bit. Shh, don't tell him. I think, I mean, he's already nervous, which is really funny because I don't know why. You know, I've known him, like I've said before, I've known him since junior high. He is run in the same circles as several of my children, and you know, I've known him for quite some time. So why he would be nervous coming to me, but he is. And I'm gonna milk it. I'm gonna milk it. I think it'll be pretty funny. Poor kid. But I'm thrilled for them because, you know, they're making a really good life for themselves. They bought that house it's almost been a year. And, you know, they're doing really good. They're doing really good. I'm really proud of them. Okay, so what else has happened? Mr. G was home for Mother's Day and the little's birthday, which thank you to everyone who wished her well. And she was thrilled. She had a really nice birthday. She got Grammy's special spaghetti sauce for dinner, and her gluten-free pasta noodles made her very happy. She got good gifts. She was thrilled. My daughter and I exchanged plants. She bought me a beautiful China doll plant, and I bought her two plants in a planter that goes. Her and I have very different styles on decorating. Like, she's very modernist, natural, you know, woods and you know, minimalistic, modern, I guess, is what her style would be classified as. Whoops. Yeah. And mine is very much French country style. So when we are picking something for each other, we would buy, you know, the opposite of what we would buy ourselves, because you know, every time I pick something up and I'm like, "Ooh, Em, what do you think?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's so your style." And I'm like, "Oh, I was kind of thinking it was yours." And she's like, "No." So now things that I would never have thought to, you know, pick up in my own house, that's what I buy her, and vice versa. It's pretty funny. So yes, so I bought her two really cool plants, and at the same nursery I bought myself some plants, of course. And one of them is this really cool plant called Mother of Thousands. And what makes her cool is, when I first actually saw this plant in the store, I was like, "Ooh, there's something wrong with that plant. That looks dead." But I then realized that no, it's not dead. It gives that appearance because of the color of the leaves. And so anyways, she probably was not as healthy as she could have been. She was the last one in the nursery, but I think she's gonna do just fine here. And already she seems really happy. But Mother of Thousands is cool because she makes little plantlets along her leaves, which gives it this frilly look. And that's why she's called Mother of Thousands, because she grows baby plantlets on her leaves. And it's a really cool plant. And then I bought some other little ones. I got a wavy fern, and just some really cool plants I had not seen before. And at a new nursery I went to, which of course, you know, I go on Saturday, the day before Mother's Day, and of course it is packed in there. And me being the lazy person that I am, you know, why walk? Why walk? And so this nursery has like a lower parking lot, and then it has an upper, there's 2 levels to the upper parking lot. And, you know, I'm like, okay, well, I'll go to the middle parking lot. Well, this nursery, it's large, it's very large, and it's very busy. And the lower parking lot would have been a better bet, because the upper parking lots, you have to go over this bridge to get to. And it is a 1-car only kind of bridge. And so people who are waiting in the middle parking lot for a spot crowd up the bridge. And you can't get around. And which means that anybody in the upper parking lots can't get out either. So everybody is like landlocked for a while, right? And so, you know, I noticed this. We stayed for a little while in one spot, and finally I was like, ooh, I'm gonna be real savvy. And there was a spot in the middle parking lot just after the bridge, and somebody was, I saw these people were coming out with a wagon, so I knew it was gonna take them, you know, a few minutes to unpack their wagon and get the kids loaded into the car. So I zoom up to the upper parking lot, and I scooch myself back down so that, you know, I can sit at that and wait for a spot there. And yes, it took me probably 10 minutes. Why? I mean, if I just parked in the lower parking lot, I wouldn't have had to deal with the bridge, the upper parking lot, or anything else, and I would have been in there buying plants right away. But no, because I'm lazy. And I'm always telling Mr. G, oh, park further away so you can walk, you know, get some exercise. Me, I'm like, because in my head, I'm like, I'm buying plants, and I'm not going to get a wagon. No, I'm going to get a box, or I'm going to carry them, right? And this is always my thinking when I go into a store. I don't need a cart. No, I'm going to carry everything in my hand. Well, then I always find good stuff, and so I either have to put everything down and get a cart or a basket or something. Or I'm just stubborn enough that I'm going to keep it all like up in my hands and arms, and, you know, with my phone and my wallet, and yeah, and try and juggle everything. That's also not ideal, but that's always my thinking. If I can't carry, if I can't carry it, I don't need it. It seems to be my thing, but then I'm always like, no, I need that. I'll find a place to carry it. I'm an idiot sometimes. Anywho, I did that. And so yes, so I you know, got a bunch of plants that I am now like trying to juggle in my hands. I got a couple of strings of pearls, because the last string of pearl I bought, I don't think it was well when it left the nursery I bought it from to begin with, and it did not last long. So I'm hoping that these 2 are going to fare much better. They already look much better. And yeah, so anyways, me being lazy. But I bought quite a few plants there, and nursing them along. And then the other day I went to Trader Joe's, and I bought a couple of more plants. I mean, it's starting to look really quite nice and green here. Now, if Odin's tail would stop taking them out, oh my goodness. I think I get them at the right height, but no, he surprises me every once in a while. And I'm like, how did you manage to knock that over? Because I was going to, you know, buy some of those cute plant stands that you can put your bigger plants on. and put one up in the corner in the living room. But yeah, His Highness's tail knocks things out, and he's too exuberant, and they're not, I mean, most plant stands are not super sturdy, like those wire ones are not super sturdy, and he'll take that out in a heartbeat. So I guess we're not going to do that. So yeah, when his tail takes out, you know, half the plants, and I mean, they don't die or anything. They're just, he's just knocked them over and given them a bit of a shock, and they lose a little dirt. And then mommy gets angry, and he has to go and sulk in his bed. That's the relationship we have. Yeah. But so far, I mean, no plants have died. I did buy a couple of herbs from Trader Joe's, and I don't know what's the matter with my basil. It is not looking good. I don't know what happened, but the mint and the oregano, they look great. And the oregano I actually used in my meat sauce, so that was kind of fun. But my basil, oof, it's not looking good. So I don't know if he needs a bigger pot, that he's just too, you know, because Trader Joe's is kind of hit and miss when you buy their plants. They can be really good plants, or they can look not bad in the store, but they're actually quite sickly. And unless you quarantine them away from the other plants and really kind of baby it along, sometimes they just don't last. And but it's been a good experience, because honestly, so my mom and my dad definitely had a green thumb. He grew up on a farm, and you know, their livelihood was their veggies and that kind of thing. And if they didn't have the flowers and the veggies, it was a struggle to, you know, they needed that to make money, and also to eat. So they had quite a big vegetable garden. And so my dad had a very green thumb. I apparently did not inherit that. And my mom can grow a plant, oh my goodness. So I remember growing up in our Sherwood Park house, because that's where I actually was raised until I was 10. And then we moved to Edmonton, downtown Edmonton, and in Canada. And but in the Sherwood Park house, I remember in the living room, there used to be this ginormous spider plant. And my mom, it was on, you know, one of those stands, those plant stands, and it was in a great big ceramic, like Asian type pot. Like, it was huge. It was huge. And then the spider plant, like, just grew out of this. And, you know, I was little at the time, so it probably seemed a lot bigger than it actually was. But I just remember that thing sprouted babies. Like, it was constantly overgrowing, like, the sides of the pot, and it would just have these hanging babies off of it, right? And my mom would clip them off, and she would repropagate the babies, or she would give them to friends, and they would grow, you know, spider plants. And apparently a spider plant is fairly easy to grow. So when I grew up and got my first house, you know, that plant was still alive. My mom, you know, she had repotted it a couple of times into bigger pots, and she had divided it even, and put it in different pots and gave some of them away, and it grew and grew and grew. I don't know what she did to it, but it just grew and grew, and it continually kept having these babies. So she snipped off a couple of babies for me and planted them, and it lasted probably a whole 4 months in my house, and it died. And then one year I got for Christmas from one of my coworkers, I got a beautiful Christmas cactus. And this Christmas cactus was just beautiful. And the year that I got it, it flowered. It was beautiful. The second year, I mean, I wasn't doing real well on it. And I have to take this back out. There we go. And it didn't flower. And I was like, why didn't, I mean, it flowered the first year. It was beautiful. And now I'm not getting any flowers off of it. And I didn't get any flowers off of it for 2 years. And so I gave it to my mom. And because then at that time, you know, we'd had babies and I was not, it was near death. And so my mom was like, I'll take it, you know, nurse it back to health. And she did. And I'll tell you what, that thing flowered for her for years and years and years. I mean, she just, whatever she does, I don't know. But, and so then she gave it back to me because, you know, she was like, oh, it's back and I've got it flowering. I'd had it, it was dead within a year. Yep. And so then that's where the joke came in that, you know, it's a good thing that people aren't plants because I would kill them. I could not keep a nice, healthy plant alive that had been around for quite some time. I couldn't do it. And so, yeah, that's kind of the, okay, what have I done? I have too many. Just hang on. Now I have to fix this. Borders. I don't know why I just didn't start with the border. I mean, this is a border, but an easier border. Why I did not start with an easier border. So yes, that's when the joke in the family became about me and the plants. And then in one of the houses we lived in, my dad came and, you know, we just had like a little, we lived in a townhouse and we had just a little patch of garden out front. And my dad came and, you know, he cleaned out all the weeds and showed me what to do. And we did it together and, you know, put in some pretty plants, and they took some plants from their garden. They had like a ton. My dad was very good at gardening. And, you know, they had like tons of lily of the valley, which is one of my favorites, and some bulbs that he was able to split, and just all kinds of things. So they really took a lot of stuff from their garden that had overgrown and brought it to my little patch. Nope, didn't even last the summer. And my dad would come over and he would, you know, weed, and he'd water it when he was available, because he worked on the road during the week. And then on the weekends, you know, we were like, no, Dad, spend time with the kids, you know, not gardening. And plus they had projects at their own house. So I actually spent a lot more time at their house. And so, yeah, he would come and he would try and keep that darn garden alive. And, you know, it wouldn't look so bad after he left, but then nope, I just couldn't do it. So I am kind of relearning how to keep plants and the garden alive. And so far, I mean, my garden looks pretty good. It's probably more bare than it should be. I space my plants out for obviously the future, because when they grow, they'll, you know, when the garden's established, it's going to be beautiful. But until then, it looks a little sparse. But, oh, weeds. I have weeds. Oh my gosh, I have so many weeds. And so I actually looked after the little this weekend, and I was going to bribe her to weed the garden with me, and then we would go and get menchies. And but her mom came and picked her up a lot earlier than I had expected. So apparently I have her next weekend too. So I will have to bribe her and get her to help me weed that garden, because whew, yikes, it's got some weeds. But yeah, so other than that, Mr. G came home. He was home, and then unexpectedly, he was supposed to leave Monday morning. They typically have him, drop the delivery, and then he heads out like the next day. So he's not home quite for 24 hours, just long enough to kind of replenish his food, get the laundry done, see each other, say how you been, and then gets him back on the road for another delivery. And he unexpectedly, his truck had a radiator leak, and they didn't get to it until later on Monday, and so he didn't leave until Tuesday morning. And so that was nice. He was home unexpectedly, so he mowed the lawn and did all those kinds of chores for me, which was nice. And then he was out Tuesday. Wednesday, he had to go to one of the TA truck stops to have his truck looked at because the trailer lights were kind of wonky. And what should have been a very fast, easy, quick fix ended up taking all day long. And they basically rewired the whole entire trailer, which was not apparently what was expected by his employer. And so what should have been a cheaper fix became a long, very expensive fix. And so he said to me, I'm so glad that, right now we don't own our own truck, because that was a very expensive trailer fix. But now he's got good airbags on his trailer, and now apparently it's being completely rewired, so there should not be an issue on that truck for a long time, hopefully. Well, not at least on the trailer. The truck now will be a different issue. But yes, so he ended up being down all day on Wednesday because of that. So he then really hauled, to make his delivery on time. And then he's turning back around, and he is on his way back home for a day. He'll be home and then turn back around for another delivery. Next week. Yeah. So what's this? This is Sunday. He'll probably be home Thursday. Sunday to Thursday. Yeah, 4 days. And then he'll get another delivery on Friday. So he'll be home just that short little while. Again, long enough to say, hey, how you been? And maybe suck him into another chore. The poor man, he thinks that he's coming home just to rest. Yeah, he doesn't get to rest. There's no rest here. Oh, goodness. But other than that, painting the sewing desk that I bought, and going to put the second coat on today. The color is not quite what I thought it was going to be. The color that's on the outside label is not how it dried. And so I'm going to either add a little bit of black or a very dark gray to the blue and see if that will give it more the color I need. It's still beautiful, but it wasn't quite what I was expecting. I was expecting a richer blue, deeper blue. And I got a coastal blue, which is beautiful. And that's actually the name of the paint, the chalk paint. But it dried a lot lighter than I was expecting, and I'm going to do a whitewash over it. And so it was not quite what I was envisioning for the desk. So... And then I need to go to Home Depot, which is, other than my L&S or Hobby Lobby, it is my favorite place to go. as Mr. G knows. He's always like, you want to go to Home Depot? And I'm like, heck yes, let's go. I will spring out of bed and get dressed for that. He thinks it's hilarious. But Home Depot is going to be on my list of places to go because they have the gel stain that I am going to put on the top of this piece. So I've chalk painted the piece itself, everything but the top, and then the top is going to be a gel stain because I just feel with the sewing machine on top of it and scissors and that kind of thing, no matter how many times you put a protective wax coat on your chalk paint, it can still, depending on what you do with it, it can still come off. And while in the farm country look, that's great. But just on the top of my piece, I just wanted it to be a little different. So that's what I'm doing with that. So second coat's gonna go on this afternoon after I finish this, and then do the Home Depot trip. And yeah, I'm excited. And then when I get this done, I will put the items that I wanted into the desk. There's a lot. I also have to find some drawer pulls. The drawer pulls that it came with are not the drawer pulls that it should have. I don't know where those drawer pulls came from, but it was not off that desk. And so I need to find some really cool drawer pulls, and there's a lot to put on that desk. So that'll be interesting to find. And then once that's all done and I put the stuff that I want into the desk, then I'm gonna paint the hutch, and then the fabric will go into that because that will be the sewing area. This is my cross stitch area, and then behind me I have a table that is kind of like the arts and crafts area. That's where the little does her diamond painting or her coloring, or all the things, and where I have some crafts on the go. But like I said, I've got quite a mess going on right now. So yes, that's right. Whew, thought I made a mistake already. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. The rest of the week, I kind of got a little gift from my daughter. She took Monday and Tuesday off because they were having some friend parties over the weekend, and she thought for recoup time that she would take a couple of days off, and because of that, she is going to keep the little for homeschooling. And so I got a couple of free days of no remote learning. So that means, yes, I will probably work a little more during the day than I normally would, but that also gave me some additional painting time and stitchy time. So that makes me happy. Plus it also is, what I'm gonna do is go through some more of my paper crafts and stuff and put that up on one of our local sites, selling sites, because I don't do that anymore, and at least not to the extent. And there's no point in, it's taking up valuable retail space that I need for my cross stitching and other crafts. So it's taking up valuable real estate. So that's kind of what's on the agenda this week, not a whole lot. And then if you've been watching my Mirabilia videos, there is a new Mirabilia come Monday. I have so enjoyed the vlog style video. It has been, okay, I'm gonna put another odd fiber in. My hair, you guys, my hair is just crazy. Yeah, I have just so enjoyed doing the vlog style videos. And so Monday we'll start a new Mirabilia, and she's a beauty. I mean, they all are, but so you'll see what that is come either late Friday night or Saturday morning. Actually, the videos have been coming up early Saturday morning, so that's kind of nice. And then Sunday will be a regular type video where I'll show whatever progress I have made either on this sampler here, or I've been doing my Whip Go piece of Mary Bate by Shakespeare's Peddler. I don't want to put it down. Oh my goodness, I love it. I love it. And I do need to pull out another, whew, goodness sakes, it's chilly down here. I need to pull out another ornament for the monthly Orny Sal now that I finally got April's done. And you know, hopefully finish up this desk and get some organization done and clean up the tiny piles of messes that I have going on around here. And hopefully I have lost 3 different project bags now that I am looking for. I have lost my Reflections of Canada piece. And by lost, I mean misplaced. They're in this house somewhere. Part of it is that I stitch in different places. I stitch here in the stitchy spot. I stitch in my room, in bed when I'm watching either Flosstube or shows. I stitch in the living room when I'm doing remote learning with the little. And so there's various places that it could be. And I suspect that it's potentially fell down off the edge of the bed, and it's at the end of the bed, and I just haven't looked there yet. So yes, but I've misplaced Reflections of Canada. I've misplaced Cinnamon Stars, and I misplaced my Archangel, which that one's weird because I had pulled that one out to Darren, and I have been communicating, and he had asked me a question about Archangel, so I took Archangel out to have a look to see and, you know, give him the answer that he had asked. And Darren is Dizzy Stitcher on YouTube, Flosstube, and somehow I misplaced it. I don't even. Oh my goodness. I mean, yes, my house is large for 2 people. I'm blaming Odin. I think Odin took them and he's hiding them in some hiding spot because he's tired of mommy always telling him, lie down, Odin. No, I don't want your special fibers in my cloth. Oh, goodness. All right, well, that is, I feel like I've missed something here. Yeah, I sure did. I sure did. So I'm gonna have to go fix that. So I hope you all have a really wonderful Sunday and a great week ahead. Stay safe and stay healthy and happy and all of the things. And I hope to see you in my next videos. Bye-bye.